the idea of people seeing a little bit behind the scene.
Yeah.
Like you're unveiling that curtain just a touch.
It's like a comfortability thing, you know, like they're seeing that it is someone, like it is just you working.
It's authentic.
On your podcast.
Yeah.
You know? It's not like this is top tier professional.
Exactly. And I think, though, of course, the idea is to get it to a sort of professional standard, I like to stay in line with that level of authentic sort of personability.
Yeah, people connect more with that as well, because they'd be like, if he can do that, why can't I?
Which leads me to my first question. As a salesman, how have you found that your confidence and your general ability to show up for the world has improved as a result of being in that scene?
Showing up for the world terribly. I hate 90% of the customers, but that doesn't mean I don't like their money.
Yeah.
Because it's been crazy. At first, when I got the job, I was horrified.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, I didn't clock in my head that it was on the phone sales, and I have no idea why, because it's a sales job.
So did you anticipate door to door?
I wouldn't say door to. I think for some reason I was expecting like online sales.
Okay.
Like I would be emailing people, like getting companies involved with this, that, or the other, or something like that. And then when I got there for my interview, I found out it was on the phone, and I remember the first week I was bricking it.
Yeah.
Because I was like, like the anxiety of picking up a phone and talking to a total stranger about stuff even I didn't know. I was like, come on, man, this is terrible.
Yeah.
But you pick it up so fast, and once you start, the first scary bit is picking up the phone. But once you do that, you get more used to being like, oh. Yeah, the way I see it is when I pick up the phone to a total stranger, I just don't care what they think. Like, they could think at the end of the phone call I was a total twat. But, I mean, if I'm doing my job to my best ability and I gave them the correct information, I'm not in the wrong. And
yeah, you have to take the element of personability out of it to an extent.
Yeah.
But round that in nicely, because of course, as you said just before we started the talk, you want people to be aware of the fact that their best interests are your best interests. Now, of course, there is, as you said somewhat satirically, there is that sort of I'm here to do a job.
Yeah.
But there is an understanding of, I'm here to do a job, but I want to do that to a point where we both come away from this well.
Yeah, exactly. I always do want it to be a win-win, because especially the sales that I'm in, the prices are currently hiking higher and higher. Like, they're not coming down for the next, probably 3 years. And it's all about just being open and honest. So with all the clients that I have, I call them up, and if the price goes up, I call them and I'm like, look, this is just how it is. We both don't like it, and we're not doing it by choice, because we're really not. And it does help with that connection, because if you're able to still get on a personal level with them and be like, look, this price now is generally the best one I can give you. I don't know how long I can give it for, but this is just currently the way it's going to go. And I'm honest with them. I'm like, hey, next week the price is probably going to go up. The week after is going to keep going up and going up. And I said, but there's nothing we can literally do about it. This is out of our reach. And a lot of them come to actually respect that, because they're like, I don't know, if you give them a valid reasoning as to why it's going up, not just saying, hey, that's gone up 50 quid, they're just going to be like, oh, well, at least I know why. And some people will shout at you and be like, no, I hate you for this. And I'm just like, cool, go to another company then. I don't really care.
Yeah. The price is going up over there as well.
Well, yeah, exactly. It's literally going up for everyone. So when they would do that, I'd just be like, I end up talking to 90% of the people that say I'm never talking to you again the following day or following week. And I'm just like, oh, hi again.
Yeah. How did that work for you?
Very well, because at first I was like spiteful.
Yeah.
And I was like, you fucking, I hate you.
Yeah.
He's like,
took it personally.
Yeah, and I did, because I was just like, you rejected everything I said and you hated me for what I said. But then it's taking that personal level out of it. Like, sure, I was just trying to do my job, but that's what I was doing. And this person's trying to do their job. Like, they're trying to keep their business open. And my product is what they rely on for 90% of their business. So, of course, they're going to get mad when they have to suddenly pay 50 quid more for something that they had to just pay 50 quid less for. So it's bridging that sort of mind together, like being like, right, at the end of the day, this is this guy's business. Like, I just have a job, but he has an entire business on his own shoulders. So of course it's going to be a bit more personal for him than it is me. And
the criticism itself is not actually aimed at you. You are just the unfortunate recipient of it. You are the for lack of better word, victim of circumstance here.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to sort of home in on that point, actually, because I think it's very important to be aware of the fact that a lot of the time when people say things that are either mildly pernicious or just generally malignant to us, that we take them personally. And quite a lot of the time it's not personal. A lot of the time someone is irritated on some other front, and as a result of said irritation, you're in front of them, and as a result you're the one that's getting the axe thrown at you. And that's I've noticed in myself, there's a theory that I use quite consistently because I think it's very helpful. It's called Hanlon's razor, right?
Ooh.
And it says to never attribute to malice what can be accurately explained by stupidity. Now, I think a nice reframe to put into play with that is to never attribute to malice what can accurately be explained by someone just being pissed off.
Yeah.
And you being in the wrong place at the wrong time when it comes to that. I think I'd like to look at how you've sort of bridged that gap of realising, oh, they might be annoyed at me, but they're not annoyed at me.
Yeah. That's one of the harder tricks for sales, at least in my office, that I found out, because there's people that have been with the company that I'm with for 30 years and still take things really personal. And I think, just respectfully, that's just the older generation. They just, sales used to be so simple. And now things are very complex because there's different ways to do things, and younger people are opening businesses. So when they have an old person who is just, I guess, done with their job, they're just like, oh, I hate this. But when I would call someone and say, hey, the price has to go up, and you have people that I've been screamed at down the phone, and my boss has always said, if someone is screaming at you, just put the phone down. And there have been times where I'm just like, right, I'm not going to sit here for 15 minutes for you just to scream at me, because this is 15 minutes I could get 3 other sales in, and it's one of the things where I call these same customers every week, and sometimes multiple times a week. And if I call them on a Tuesday and they're really, annoyed at me because the price is hiked up, I still have to call them on Thursday because that's my job. But I found out that a lot of the time when it got to that Thursday, their mindset themselves had fully changed. So it wouldn't be them screaming at me because our price is up. Like they took a few days to, I guess, clock themselves, like, hey, this isn't my fault, and it's, they were making it my fault. And I've had people like genuinely apologise to me as well. They're like, look, I shouted at you last time, I'm very sorry, like, just didn't mean it like that. But you understand why I'm angry. And this is where I feel like I can help build that relationship with them. Because again, for me it is a transactional thing. Like, I want money from you, but I also do want to try and make sure you're getting the best price possible. So yeah, being more open with them definitely helps with bridging, like, them being mad at me versus being mad at me, you know? Because most of the time I just say, look, be mad at the company, it's none of our faults. It's not even the main supplier's fault, it's I hate saying like this, but it comes down to governments, because the way the governments are, they're taxing more on it, so we have to pay more on it. So of course we have to, and I always tell them, I say, look, respectfully, we need to make a profit, because if you do want to keep buying our product, we need to stay open and we need people there. And I said, if we suddenly drop everything down and keep it at one price, we're not making money, we're going to close, you lose your product, you lose your shop. So it is a huge knock-on effect. And just being honest with them really helps bridge them into thinking, hey, it's not this guy's fault, and he is at least trying his best.
I have to say, honesty, and this will tie in what I said to you before about Sam Harris's book on lying. I think honesty is such a critical trait to cultivate, and I think Yeah, it does that. One of the difficulties of honesty is it's not hard to be...
So sorry.
Don't worry about it. It's not hard to be honest about someone looking wonderful. It's not hard to say, wow, you look really great today.
Yeah.
You do. It is hard to say. It is hard to say to someone,
So do you.
do you know what, actually, I don't really think this relationship is working, or I'm not really sure. Like, it's much harder to broach the point that touches on uncomfortable topics, and one of them exactly is, look, I know I do want the best price for you, and I want this to work for you, but we are a business, we have our own interests, and we need to make money.
Yeah.
I think something I've quite enjoyed as a result, my brother's wonderful at this, and I really appreciate the lesson that I've derived from his way of interacting with the world, is he will say exactly what he thinks.
Yeah.
But he won't say it in a way that is intentionally hurtful. He'll find a way to navigate that where he's saying what needs to be said, but not in a way that is hurtful.
Yeah.
For instance, you might ask him, do you want to go out for lunch tonight or for dinner tonight, something like that, and he will say, I'm tired, like, I can't really be bothered, to be honest. A lot of people won't do that.
No.
Because they think, I don't really want to, but all right, he's asked, so I will. I am gradually trying to get closer to an understanding of, if everything I say is embedded in honesty, then I will alleviate a lot of concerns on my behalf, because I don't feel like I'm cheating anyone.
Yeah.
And the people in front of me will be aware of the fact that when they talk to me, they will hear me. As we said before we got on the mics, your words are a direct reflection of your thoughts. You're not masking anything here.
No. How
has your relationship in the salesmanship realm converted your sort of ability to... How has it influenced your ability to be honest in everyday life, in generally just being authentic?
Yeah. Very strongly, if I'm completely honest. It's not so much sales itself that's done that. I think it's just working in general. The people I work with are very, very blunt, to the point, not in a negative way, but all of us there, we always say we're literally here just to get the job done, and we'll get it done as quick as possible, but as effectively as possible. And we scream at each other and everything, but we're always honest. And if I've had a falling out in the office, I'll talk to them either the end of that day or the following morning, and I'll just be like, hey, look, I feel like oh my god, overstepped. And I apologise, and it's one of that's what's really helped me, because to get a little deep here, forgive me.
Go for it.
I used to get walked on a lot from people. I would just let them walk all over me and take this, that, and the other, and I'd be okay with that, because for me, I valued their friendship. Even if they didn't value me, I valued them.
Yeah.
And I'd let them do it, because I was like, to me, I guess I didn't want to care, because I still had that friend, or so I thought I had that friend. But now I'm way more confident in it, and that anxiety's just disappeared. So if I really just don't like the way someone's talking to me, I literally turn around to them and I'm just like, look, either change your act if you really want to keep being friends with me, or just I'm gonna get rid of you because I don't like how you're acting. And it's a lot of like looking out for yourself. One thing I always tell like a good handful of my friends is there's good selfish and there's bad selfish, and people seem very scared to live for themselves, but people also who do live for themselves can get lost in that. So it's about looking out for yourself and knowing what is best for you, but it's also, the good selfish comes with looking out for people as well. So if you really do value people, the best way to show someone you value them is being honest with them.
Yes, 100%. I'm very glad that you brought that into play, because this is something that I'm quite passionate about, actually. I think my understanding of selfishness is, if I take care of myself and my house is in order, I am in more of a advantageous and stronger position to take care of you.
Yeah, I'm going to slide in quick here.
Go.
There's something that I've always lived by, and I also tell my closest friends or, just family in general, and it's, if I'm not 100%, I can't expect myself to try and make someone 100%. If I'm only feeling 40, the most I'm going to be able to make someone feel is 40. And don't get me wrong, well, I'm going to make sure if that person really needs that 40%, I'm going to give them that 40%. But you also, I'm always communicating with them and being like, hey, look, I'm not feeling good myself. I'll help you as much as I can, but don't expect to be like fixed by just talking to me, I always show them the effort because, some people just do want to be shown some effort. But I'm a firm believer if I'm not 100%, I can't make someone 100%. If I'm only 80%, they're going to feel 80%. And if they need that, and I'll do that happily. But, I always give them the warning, like, hey, this is probably the best you're going to get, so if you do want to look for someone else to talk to, I wouldn't feel offended.
Yeah. And it calls back to that honesty.
Yeah, exactly.
And
There's no point lying to them about it.
Exactly. If you lie to someone, then you don't afford them the opportunity to get what it is that they need.
Yeah.
Because you're not being true to what's on the front cover of the book. You're saying, look, come over here, I can sort things out. But actually, when you start flicking through the pages, you realise I'm not in order enough to show up for you. I think selfishness is one of these things that has been stigmatized to such an extent, and understandably because of the way that it's used.
Yeah.
No one ever says, wow, do you know, one of the things I really like about you is you're so selfish.
Yeah.
Because it's evidently, no one would like to be called selfish.
Everyone who's been called selfish has always been like, you're a selfish,
Exactly. It's always been an ex saying it as they throw your bags out of the door.
Yeah.
I think if you are aware of how selfishness is important, then you can use it in a way that provides you with much more authentic relationships with people. Yeah. Because if you, as I say, for one, you can be honest in I am not in a position to take care of you, and I want you to be taken care of, so I can't help you. And it calls back to that idea of lying. It's where people will lie. As this is something that I read a book called No More Mr. Nice Guy, which is very interesting to sort of, that can be tied in here, of people will do nice things for other people, but they're actually doing it for themselves.
Yeah.
They're saying, for instance, they might say a compliment to someone because they want to receive a compliment back.
Yeah, exactly.
Or they might say, oh, how was your day? Because actually they've had a good day and they want to talk about their day.
Yeah.
And the same thing sort of occurs within this field, where it's like, you won't be selfish because you don't want to put yourself in front of other people. And as a result of doing that, you are inhibiting other people, because you're not showing up in a proper way. My other brother's going through some issues of his own at the moment. And I said to him, he's going through a breakup of sorts. I said to him, you have to be aware of the fact that you can't stay somewhere to make someone happy when you're not happy.
Yeah.
Because the very thing you're trying to do, you're not going to be able to do. Exactly. Because you're not in that position to offer that. I think I'd like to broach, we can dive a bit further, but I do want to make a sort of escape route of sorts out to the point of the difference between confidence and arrogance, because I think these are quite closely entwined on that point of misconception.
Yeah. Confidence for me, I've definitely gained confidence, but sorry, did you want to talk about the selfish bit first?
If you've got anything else you'd like to put onto that, go for it, but otherwise we can broach.
I'll slide in quick. With the selfish thing, I think being good selfish really helps bring out other good qualities. Like, if I'm a good selfish and I start taking care of myself and I start knowing my ability, like if I know I'm able to help people, that's a good selfish, I'm believing in myself, but I'm not being a total prick about it, I'm not being like, of course I can help them, like, why wouldn't I be able to? But at the same time, it's to do with the tone, of course I can help someone. Yeah. I want to help someone because, it's someone I obviously care about, and even if I don't care about them, phrased wrong. even if I don't know them on that deeper level,
Yeah.
if someone's upset, I do want to help them. You know, I want to make sure they're okay. And like with a compliment, sometimes when I worked at Waitrose, big up.
Cool.
Yeah, man at Waitrose. A lot of customers, I would literally create small talk. And if someone came in with a cool outfit, I would literally be like, hey, by the way, I really think your outfit's pretty cool. And you'll see most people have the biggest smile. And that's the good way to compliment people.
Yeah.
You can always tell when someone's fishing for a compliment back, because I'd say to you, hey, you look really good today.
I love your tattoos, by the way.
Yeah, but I'd say, I like how you look. How do you think I look?
Yeah.
And if they add that extra question, you're like, well, thanks, but you clearly just want me to say, yeah, you look fire.
You don't actually care about how I look.
Yeah, exactly.
You like how you look, and
Yeah.
you want someone to tell you that.
Exactly, and that's stupid and very idiotic.
Very transparent. You can see through that quite simply.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I feel like the good selfish is understanding your ability, knowing that, hey, this isn't like a bad thing to be. But it is also easy to get lost in, to become the bad version of selfish.
And that, I think, I really enjoyed the frame that you put there, because I think that's a lovely sort of bounce board towards that difference between confidence and arrogance. Because, as you said there, if you're someone who is confident in your ability to say, well, as someone who's experienced that, or as someone who's well read on this topic, or someone who just feels as though they can provide a shoulder when it's needed, I am capable of being in a position to help you, so I'm going to help you. That's a pleasant level of confidence. As you put it, if someone came in and thought, well, of course I can help him, it might not be the most clear of examples on the point of helping someone, because in that there's there's an altruism to that provides a sort of positive through road. But for the sake of the point, if you are confident in your abilities to help someone, there is a tremendous difference in that between being arrogant. And I think this is something I've wrangled with for quite a lot of my life, is I have frequently been called arrogant, and I have frequently been arrogant. But as a result of that stigma attached to confidence, essentially, it's much harder now for people to act with confidence. And I think we've lost the sort of the baby in the bathwater has been thrown out here, because confidence is an essential part of the psyche, and it's quite often sort of...
I'm so sorry, there's a spider crawling up your ear right now.
Yeah, he's fine, leave him.
The headphone.
Yeah, don't worry, he's fine.
Oh, he's pal.
He's pal, don't worry about it.
My bad.
And arrogance is sort of, you're displayed as arrogant when you're actually being confident.
Yeah, definitely. Because when it comes to confidence, literally like you said, like I personally am confident in my ability that I can help someone when they're struggling. Like, I do understand.
Yeah, go on, What's right. About?
Little Timothy, bro.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, I'm confident in my ability that if someone did need help, I know that I am well versed in helping people, so I'm able to do it. But I'm not doing it because I'm expecting them to help me back one day. Yeah. I'm doing it because I'm like, this person's clearly comfortable enough to come to me and ask for help, so I'm gonna show them the respect and that trust they have in me. I'm gonna give back, and I'll be like, yeah, I can help you. But I'm not gonna turn around and be like, well, obviously I can help. Like, why wouldn't you come to me about this, you know? And also the people that are really arrogant about it tend to be the ones that they're giving advice for things, but in turn they're not really giving you advice. Like, if you came to me with an issue and I kept giving you, like, you know, blunt answers, or I was, I guess, tiptoeing around the point a lot, you're not going to feel listened to, and you're going to feel like, why on earth is he talking to me? You know, what's the point? This guy's just being an arrogant twat.
Yeah.
And you can tell when someone's, you know, confident in it, because, like, someone, I had this thing once with a friend, and they were having a terrible, terrible time, bless their hearts. And they literally just sent me 2 words. They just sent me, help me. And this is one of the friends where, respectfully, I knew if they were sending me a message like that, it wasn't like a joke, like, oh, help me out, you know, it was like a please.
Yeah, I need help.
I need help.
Yeah.
And immediately I offered that person, I was like, hey, I'll come to your house right now. It was like 4 a.m. And I was like, I'll figure it out, you know, like, if you really need me there, of course I'm going to come over. But I always try and calm them down first, as much as possible, because in that scenario it's hard to, you know, be calm. But at least so I can get a form of an answer out of them, to be like, right, what kind of help do you currently need? Like, do you need me to come over, or is a phone call all right, or do you just want to text, or, you know, do you want a distraction, you know, stuff like that. And in this instance, he did just need a distraction. So I sent this, I sent my pal, it was the longest paragraph I think Snapchat has probably ever seen in their lives, of just me talking about, in the most detail, one of the most boring days of my life. And it was boring. I'm telling you, all I'd done is I woke up, I went downstairs, I got food, I went back upstairs, I slept. That was it. But I went in so much detail to make it sound like so thrilling, but it's because I wanted him to be reading it constantly, and obviously you can see the little emoji. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I know he's there reading it, so I know he's not going to do something bad. He then messaged me back and just said, tell me about another day. And I was like, right, it's working. So that's very good. And then I thought maybe I'll tell him about a bit more of an exciting day, because waking up and getting food and going to sleep, thrilling personally, you know, that's a day. But I'm
sure Guy Ritchie's made a movie about that.
I mean, I got hit up by him. He was just like, hey, we need you. Yeah. And obviously I answered the call, but he didn't pay me enough. It was a whole thing. I told him about a more interesting day that I went to, obviously, you know, Mr. Ollie Blakeway.
Yes, he's been on the podcast.
He has, yeah. And the wonderful Tom Nerney.
Yeah, very nice bloke.
Man, yeah. I told him about a day me and the boys, we just went on a walk. It was like literally 3 a.m, but every Friday we would hang out because they were back from uni, and it was Friday night, so like off work I could, you know, I'd stay up later and chill with them. And we would go on a walk just at 3 a.m. We'd either joke and talk about stupid stuff, or have deep chats. And I was telling him about one of the times we just had the goofiest time. You know, we went to this beautiful pub, can't remember the name, which is brilliant. But we went to the pub and we just sat in the garden and we were just literally enjoying the view, enjoying each other's company. We were silent for so long, but I mean, we liked the company. I was telling him about that and I was just like, look, if you ever need someone to go to the pub with and, you know, have that peaceful silence, but again, peaceful, hit me up. Like, it could be any time, any day. If you really do need it, let me help you out. And then I told him about the day and what we'd done and everything, and it did really help him. And yeah, it was nice because I was able to realise that was a nice selfish, and I wasn't being a total twat, even though there are sometimes I think I am, but in the long run, that person was, you know, at least for that time they were a lot better. And to this day they're doing very good, which is very nice.
Good.
And they thanked me a lot the next day because I think I bored them to sleep, which again I'd rather do that than they do something bad. Yeah, that's when I realised there is a good selfish, but there's also a bad one, and it's nice to know that I've chosen the path for a good one in that instance.
Yeah, I'd quite like to make a point of that actually. There's something I've been thinking about quite a lot recently, that on the point of sort of philanthropy or altruism, do you think that if someone does something because they know that it makes them feel good, but whatever it is that they're doing makes other people's lives better, do you think that is a good or a bad selfish? I should put an example into play. say, for instance, someone is philanthropic and they decide that they want to donate £10 million to whatever charity, but
I'm a charity.
Essentially, me too.
Yeah.
But essentially, the reason as to why in their head they are doing it is, I would like to be seen in public as someone who is donating to charity, and I'd quite like the plaque on the wall as well. Do you think that is a pernicious way of being kind, or, and I shall unveil my perspective here, I would wage that in terms of how we navigate this terrain, I think the most positivity that can be put into the world is the best scenario. And I don't think intention matters as much as we think it does because of that. Because I would say if your actions, with whatever intentions behind them, benefit a lot of people, then that is a net positive for the world.
Yeah. I think overall, obviously, it is a positive, but I think there's a very fine line between it being a positive, but it also being a negative. Because if you have the power to do good things like donate a random 10 mil to charity, do it. You know, if that's what you believe in and you think that is the right thing to do, sure. It's the wanting the validation for it that's the scary part.
Why is it scary?
Because, I mean, it's good and bad. Because it's good because, you know, if from like a company perspective, if you were donating 10 mil as a company to a nice charity, you know, you do want that positive outlook on yourself, because you're like, hey, look, I can do this.
Yeah.
And with people's support and people, whatever company you're in, blah, 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 like, I can keep doing stuff like this and random acts of kindness. So I think sometimes looking for the validation is very good. Like, in that instance, I feel like that would probably be a positive, because you're allowed to be proud of yourself. You know, like, you don't have to always be so hard on yourself. You're allowed to be like, yeah, I did a cool thing, and I want people to know I did a cool thing. And you can do that for smaller things as well. You know, like, if I saw someone having a bad day and I cheered them up, you know, I personally, I would probably go home and I'd tell like my mum or maybe some pals, and I'd just be like, hey, I cheered this guy up today and I feel good. And it's not so much that I'm looking for validation, I'm just looking for someone to be like, oh, that was actually a nice thing for you to do. And it's nice to hear that.
Yeah.
So yeah, if we donated 10 mil to charity, which obviously is pocket change for a guy like me, light work really.
Speak for yourself.
Well, what can I say? They call me like Bill Gates these days. It's strange.
Okay, Mark, carry on.
But yeah, no, I think there is a fine line. That is definitely, I would say, as a positive, because I mean, you're not doing a slightly negative thing. You are doing a full-on positive thing. You're donating a lot of money to a good cause, and you want people to realise, you know, you want people to back you and be like, yeah, I support that you've done that, and I think that's a really cool thing that you've done. It would be bad if he donated however much money and was making people validate him. Like, he was going up to people and saying, hey, tell me in depth why you think I'm great for this. Like, that's just not what you want. Like, if you had the plaque on the wall, people would see it and they'd read it and they'd be, oh my God, you donated 10 mil to charity. That's validation in itself. And that person, I'm hoping, would like that. But if he was going around to each person, throwing it in their face, look what I did.
Yeah,
here's 10 mil I gave.
Did you see that plaque on the wall back there?
That's me, by the way.
Yeah.
If you couldn't tell, it's got my face on it and it's got everything I've done. But I feel like that is when it would become bad. Like, you know, if you're purposely going out of your way to find the validation, that's when it comes bad. But if you do just want people to see a kind act you've done, it's not bad at all. You're allowed to want people to support you.
There are 2 points that have come into line here that I want to look into. First of all, the point of pride. You outline pride as a positive thing, and I totally agree. I think being proud of oneself is a good thing. But interestingly enough, pride is one of the 7 deadly sins. Now, that intrigues me because Jordan Peterson makes a point of
Is he the guy with the half and half suit?
Yes, that is Jordan Peterson.
Yeah, he's funny.
He is quite good. He makes a point of the fact that we shouldn't be proud of ourselves because within pride breeds arrogance, essentially, is my understanding of his point. I don't agree, because I think if you're proud of yourself, then you have quite likely done something good. Now, we can apply the appropriate caveats that if you're proud of yourself because you're Jeffrey Dahmer and you've cut off another person's head, then that's an extenuating circumstance or exception that proves the rule. I'd like to sort of tie in with that that I don't like the train of thought that pride is something that we shouldn't have, and I also don't like when people make a point of you are in understanding of the fact that people say, oh, he's just attention seeking. That phrase, attention seeking, now that's closely coupled with a sense of validation. That is what attention seeking is. When I think about that, I look at it from the perspective of, if you are in a position where you feel a dire need to have attention, then you might be warranting that attention. There is a world, in my opinion, where the best thing to happen is for you to get some attention because you obviously need it. Yeah. And I think validation, I shall clean this up once I've got this point through. Validation is a good thing, in my opinion. I think we try very sincerely to pull ourselves away from feeling as though our sense of value within oneself is the precursor to that is what someone else thinks about us. But I don't think validation is a problem. I think we live in a world where, as a social creature, it's important that we are well received by who is around us. So validation makes sense. Now, of course, the problem is when validation becomes too paramount to the way that we think, then your entire basis is ingrained in how do people perceive me, what's going on around me, and herein lies arrogance, which the same point could be made in terms of pride. If you're proud of yourself, you could look what I've done. Herein lies arrogance. But
I was going to say, it goes back to kind of what I said. Like it's fine to go out and be like, hey, I did a cool thing and I'm proud of myself for this. Do you think this is cool as well? You know, and if they agree, that's good. That because I agree with you. I think pride is something people need in their lives, because if you're not proud of yourself, you're not going to understand yourself. And
if I would wager that if someone, this is why validation I think is quite important. If you do something that makes you feel proud, say you have, for the sake of the point, you've done something specifically kind. I know you, as I say, you could be proud of doing something that was wicked, but most of the time for most people it's going to be you doing something that's actually nice.
So I haven't heard the word wicked in it.
Wicked's a lovely word.
That's awesome.
And it's wicked.
That's wicked. That's
and
epic, man.
if you are doing something that is kind and you say that to someone because the feeling of going, oh wow, that was really nice of you to do that, well, like, good on you, I think you're more likely as a result to do that thing again. Now this is where it ties in that point of, are you doing it because you want someone to say well done? My perspective on this is, I really don't think it matters that much, because I think from the perspective of the old lady who you've helped cross the road, you've helped her cross the road.
Tripped her.
So yeah, or tripped her. You might be proud of that.
Well.
But the point lies there. You've done something that's kind, and even if you're doing it for what could be perceived to be self-indulged intentions or reasonings, you've still done something that's helped someone else.
Yeah.
And I think it just ties in. This thread is coming together quite nicely here, of arrogance, confidence, selfishness, and I suppose this is sort of like a extension of selfishness, are very ill-conceived things, and I don't think people actually understand them a lot of the time, because it's not a black and white sort of setting for this. It's not you are selfish, that is bad. You can be selfish in a good way.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think there's not a great deal of light cast in this direction, because we have for so long and and so fervently been told that something like selfishness must be avoided.
Yeah. That's one thing. I actually had a conversation with a friend about that recently. Very close friend, might I say. Don't want to brag. But like the word perfect. Yeah. I think the word perfect is very situational and person-based.
How do you mean?
Like, my definition of a perfect friend isn't someone else's definition of a perfect. It's sure the same qualities. Like, obviously, you hope that friend is very supportive, there for you when you need them, just a kind person, someone you really just get along with. Obviously, some people will, or most people will agree, like, yeah, that's what I would deem perfect, but the way, I deem you as a perfect person, just saying, but the qualities I deem you perfect for are going to be completely different to why someone else might deem you perfect.
Does perfection include imperfection?
Yeah, massively.
Okay.
Because when it comes to relationships, for example, if you really love someone and you think they're perfect, if you really love someone, you love everything about them. And that includes
that's a good point.
Flaws that they think they may have, and, just stuff where people have looked at them and thought, what? But you love that about them. I think flaws are definitely included in that definition, because at the end of the day, if you really, really like that friend, or you really love that person, that definition of perfect is because you do think everything about them's perfect, because you love them or you really like them and you think they're a solid person. And I don't know, if they are that perfect, you've seen them work on themselves, you've seen them get to the spot they're in and what they've had to go through, and you understand, like, yeah, this person is perfect because they're constantly trying, and they're constantly trying to be themselves, and I love that, like, I have this lady in my life who I think is perfect, and I tell her constantly, like, I really do think you're perfect, and every time I say that, she does this face, she just goes, and I love that face, because I also always retaliate with, I know you don't believe me right now, but I'm going to tell you and give you the reasonings as to why I think it, until one day you believe it yourself. And even when you believe it, I'm still going to tell you. But like I explained to her, I said that there's flaws that she has that like she hates. It just happens to be that the ones she hates, I really love. And I think she may think they're flaws, but to me, it's her. So, like, I don't see how that could be a flaw. And obviously the way you perceive yourself compared to how someone else sees you is always different. But I always explain to her, I said, like, this is one of the things you think is a flaw, but this is why I love it. Or, these are all the good things about you, this is obviously why I love you. And here's all the other things, this is why I love you, and this is why I think you're perfect. And sometimes people do really need that kick of understanding that perfect doesn't mean you're the most 10 out of 10 person in the world, because you shouldn't really care what everyone thinks of you as long as the people that you care about think good of you. And I think very, very good of her. I think she is a 10 out of 10 person, but that's because of all the good stuff about her and all the stuff, that does annoy me at times. Like, I think that's perfect, and I think she's perfect, and she has the right to be told that, as much as she needs to be told. And even if she doesn't think she deserves to be told it, that's more reason to tell them. And I think imperfection is perfection, because again, you can't think someone's perfect without really knowing them, and everyone has imperfections, and if you really like all those imperfections, then yeah, they're perfect.
I'm going to be intentionally polemic here just for the sake of the point.
Okay.
What if someone is inherently greedy or duplicitous, or just generally has some people have a trait that there is, irrespective of adoration toward that person, there is no way of liking that trait. It's not something that, if possible, you would keep in their psyche. How does that come into the realm of observing someone with that sense of, as you put it, perfection within imperfection?
It comes down to your belief in the person, and that's what I mean by, I think the word perfect is so situational on who you're saying it to, because although for that person being greedy, you would never see how someone could like that or think that's a perfect thing about them, but there's always going to be someone in the world who does value that, even if the same person is, greedy themselves. If they like another person who's greedy, then they're perfect together.
I don't know about that though. If someone's a
step outside, bro.
yeah. We'll sort it out off the mics. No. My point is there are some attributes that I totally understand what you're saying. That someone who's greedy may well be attracted to someone who's greedy because they see that reflection, but that relationship will likely come to a head at some point in the form of, I fucking hate how greedy you are.
I get that to an extent, but at the same time, if you think that person is perfect, that's because there's so many more positive qualities about that person that you can look past them being greedy. Sure, it can come up and be an issue, but again, if you think that person is perfect, that means they have so many other qualities that you yourself are interested in, to be like, yeah, that greediness isn't, it's an issue, but I can look past it because I do think you're perfect for everything else about you.
Do you think perfect is the right word in which case? Because quite possibly what might be better suited is sort of like a caveat of perfect for me.
Well, exactly, that's what I'm saying. But
is that so where you're going? Okay, I see what you're saying.
It's so situational, and it's how you believe in the word yourself. I see what you're saying. Okay. So, like I said, that person being greedy, if greediness was something, I could look past because I thought that person was perfect for everything else. That's my belief. That's me thinking that they are perfect. I will understand why people think, how the fuck do you think that? But again, it's one of those things where I think it is down to your personal belief. So if I personally believe that they are perfect, I don't care what other people would say, because that's my opinion, and if you don't agree with it, okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's why I think a lot of terms these days, like the selfish one as well, are very situational, and people have their own definitions for it. So my definition of perfect is completely different to yours. My good selfish and bad selfish could be completely different to yours. But I believe in them, and I believe that my definitions for them are correct. So that's why I think it's my definition. I'm always open to hear somebody else's thoughts on things. But if I think it's correct, and for that lady, if I think she's so perfect because of all of this, but someone disagrees because they're like, oh yeah, but she does this is terrible, I wouldn't care, because that's my definition of perfect, because that thing that person doesn't like is something that I love.
Or it's at least something you're capable of as a result of understanding all the other things you love about them, saying, I might not like that, but this is part of the package. It's a onesie.
Without this, you're not everything
exactly
else.
I cannot have the things I love without that, because it's you. It's part of you. There's a reframe that I'd like to put into play here on the point of relationships. I was in a relationship last February, and for about 2 years before that, and that came to an end.
Sorry, I've just noticed it.
It's fucking stupid, mate. It doesn't lava lamp. Yeah, it doesn't lava lamp. I might have to break up with it. My point. When I came out of that relationship, there was a great deal of me that was embedded in feeling. Let me put a more sort of a deep element onto it. When we came out of this relationship, I didn't feel this way. When I realised this person had moved on in what I felt was too quickly of a period of time, I felt sincerely hurt, and I felt, why would you be so selfish? Why would you be so after spending that much time with you and having developed that relationship with you, even for all of its imperfections, which there were plenty, why would you do that? And I realised, not so long afterwards, fortunately enough, actually, I shall broach the point. I realised whilst I was on mushrooms that my point of people often don't try to hurt you. That this person was not intending, when she decided that she wanted to be in another relationship, of, I'm going to hurt Tom's feelings by being in another relationship.
She probably thought she was ready. And
I know, given the fact I was with her, and I understand her as a person quite well, that the reason why she was doing that was because she needs to be in a relationship, because she has a deep feeling of, I cannot be valuable unless someone is valuing me. And when we got into that relationship, I was not far off her previous relationship before that. And this, from my understanding of the climate, the same thing happened again. She was in a relationship and got out of one, and then I saw her on Hinge, and I imagine she's probably in one now.
Yeah.
And I realised with that knowledge that she wasn't actually trying to be hurtful. She was just trying to help herself.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite a key theme when it comes to relationships, and when it comes to just essentially interacting with the world, is a lot of the time people aren't trying to hurt you. They're not trying. They're not going, I'm going to get with this person purely to fuck this guy up.
Yeah.
No, a lot of the time they're going, I
need right now.
I can't feel any value in myself unless someone is holding me at night. I don't understand. I don't understand how to feel loved unless someone is telling me to myself that I am being loved. And when that came into play for me as a lawyer, that came into play, I realised that, essentially that point. It's things like selfishness are very abstract or arbitrary, because I could have continued to run with the train of thought of, she was so selfish for doing that. She must have known that I would have found out.
Yeah.
No, probably not. I mean, given the fact that we had lost all connection, and the only reason why I found out was because I sought after a connection that I shouldn't have sought after, that it wasn't an intentionally selfish move. We can quite often consider things to be selfish moves, is my point, when they're not.
No, not at all, yeah. No, I fully agree with that. I think there have been a lot of things as well that I've experienced where, even when it comes to just, like, losing friends, it's, like, I haven't lost them because they were trying to hurt me. Like, in the end, because at one time I had this friend group, we had to literally cut them off because they just weren't good for us. They were just very narrow-minded people, and their way of acting didn't align with what made us comfortable.
Yeah.
And a big thing we were debating before we thought that this is definitely the play was, how are they going to think of us? You know, are they going to think we've done this strictly to hurt them? And that was not our... we were looking out for ourselves. Like, I'm sure that lady was doing, you know?
She was in a position where she wasn't happy and I wasn't happy, and she wanted to be happy. And
exactly.
How can she be blamed?
And for all of us, like the group that we have now, we thought we are a lot happier knowing that that other part is gone, because we saw something that wasn't doing good for us, and we let it sit for so long. And don't want to brag, but I was it's lava lamping.
Yeah, there you go. It happens. All right, carry on.
Sorry. But like, I was the first person to notice there was one person in particular in the group that we were just like, and I noticed at first. I didn't really bring it up to the other people because they seemed happy, and I thought, well, I can put up with this one person being a dick because I can just not talk to that one person.
It's the proverbial imperfection of the otherwise perfect group.
Yeah, and everyone else then started seeing it as well, and then I felt more comfortable to do it, and I said, hey, look, this is our lives. Like, if we do not want this person in our life, let's just not have them in our life. And we need to be that good selfish and understand what's best for us. And what was best for us was to cut them off. And they obviously think that we've done all of this out of spite, that we're dickheads, that we're the worst people on earth, and we're terrible, terrible friends.
I know the feeling.
But it's okay. But in our eyes, that's something we were ready to do, and it's an approach to our lives that we needed to take. And just because they don't think that it was a smart idea, we don't care, because it was the idea we needed to do.
It doesn't matter. Exactly. You have to put yourself first. And I didn't mean to say it as sincerely as it sounded. It just came out that way. I'm unintentionally wonderful actor. I had a very the identical situation occur in my life, where I realised I, on my own basis, I just needed to move away from a lot of people, and in one uncharacteristically cutthroat way, I lost a lot, or I got removed a lot of people from my life, because just couldn't be there. It's unfortunately, and it falls within the same lines. A lot of the people that I decided I didn't want to be friends with anymore were not doing anything particularly hurtful. They just weren't a positive influence for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very difficult, and I want you to dive into this. That's a very difficult thing to bridge when someone's not actually. I know you've said that the person in question was a bit of a dick, but a lot of the time, that's not the case. If you're someone who's trying to proceed and progress yourself, a lot of the time, the people that you have to move away from aren't. I definitely want to move away from this person because I just don't like them. Yeah. It's a lot of the time. It's more. Do you know what? He's an all right bloke. This guy's all right, but he just doesn't do the things that are making. I'm not happy in this space, and I need to do something else. Yeah. And I'm not totally fond of this phrase when it comes to emotions, but it's essentially collateral damage. It's I need to make a decision, and unfortunately, it involves you not being here anymore. Yeah.
So that's the thing, because there was mainly one person in that friend group who she was just the worst. She would manipulate 3 different conversations at once. She'd have a conversation with me, then have a conversation with another friend of mine, saying that I did all of this, and screenshot certain things in a way that proved her point. She would cut out the key context as to why she's in the wrong, because it made her look right, and then that friend would be then pissed at me, and then I'm like, hold the fucking phone. I'm going to show you the entire thing, and you're going to see that this person's a twat. But it did suck at times, because the hardest choice we made about it was because there was people still in that friend group that we cared for, and we were really close with, because we were really close with everyone. It was like a family sort of feeling. And when we decided to cut it off, we did have to have that hard talk where we're like, we're going to lose the people we also care about, because those people were so attached to her in other ways. One of them is her boyfriend, so but her boyfriend we all really liked. He was a cool guy, bit of a dick towards the end, so it wasn't the hardest thing in the end, but me and a friend of mine were very close with him, two of the friends that I'm still friends with, we were all very close with him, and then we would discuss, and we'd be like, well, this sucks, because this is a very hard choice, but is it really going to be beneficial for us? Because, like I said, they were very narrow-minded, and they seemed so comfortable to be staying in one place and being the negative people they are, and we are very interested in just expanding our thoughts. We really like being open-minded and understanding, hey, if someone has a different opinion to me, my first thing isn't to say your opinion's wrong. The first thing I want to do is understand their opinion. Why do they think that opinion of theirs is so right? With them, if you had a different opinion to them, they would belittle you, put you down, and say you're terrible for thinking otherwise. And me and my friend Ryan, we ended up putting our foot down and pushing the decision forward to be like, look, this person is actually just terrible for us. Like, we've seen the proof, and we would go through the like DMs with that person together, the way she would message things to us, completely different to how she messaged another person, this, that, and the other. And we were just like, how did we let this thing just do this to us the entire time? So yeah, the good thing is we've moved on and we're happy. We are overall happy with the choice we made, because we can now move forward in life, and we're proud of that choice. But I can also fully see why they would think of us as just the worst people, because we didn't tell them we were cutting them off. We just blocked them and disappeared, and we didn't care, because we were just like, well, I don't see a future of my life with you in it, because you're affecting me so negatively. But it's like smoking was a very big thing for me. I generally started naturally, or as natural as you can when it comes to smoking. A lot of my friends were smoking, and if I'd go out to like a pub or a bar or something, or a club, my friends would be smoking, and I'd be that guy that would just take a puff and I'd be like, go on. And then I just thought to myself, why would I do that when I have the money to buy my own ones? So I started buying my own ones, and I was just like, oh, this is the new normal now. Like, I like this, because flavoured air is cool. And when all my friends done it, I thought, oh, they think I'm like more included now. Little did I know, it's the most rancid thing. And when I started work where I am now, is also when I started like cigarettes as well as vaping. So I was doing the whole lot, and weed. So I was doing all three. Weed not so much. I would do weed like once. Towards the end it got bad. It was like once a week, and I wasn't comfortable with that. But yeah, there's a certain woman in my life that I really, really cherish the opinion and values of, and how she looks at me, because her opinion does matter to me. And she didn't tell me like, hey, stop smoking, but I thought, if I want a future with her, I want to make sure that I'm healthy for that future, and there's nothing that can stop that from happening. So there's obviously a chance that if I was smoking I wouldn't get like lung cancer or anything, but if I can just negate that thing completely and stop the chance increasing of getting it, yeah. And we were having a really tough night. There's a lot of emotion in the night, and a lot of hard feelings that were going on. But we knew we wanted each other, and as difficult as that night was, I wanted to show her commitment, and I wanted to show her that she's worth being around for, because there's been times in my life where I felt like I haven't been worth being around. Like I didn't want to either be alive or just be present in any form of scenario. And she's one of the very, very, very few people, I say very few, I might genuinely be the only one, that has made me realise that life is good. Like, it really is. And not just because of her, she is a major help to it, but life's very good. It's worth being around for, because little moments can happen that you can cherish for months and months, or even things that just get you through the day. And she started becoming all of those moments. She would do little things and it would make me happy, or she'd do massive things that made me happy. And she has asthma as well. So I thought if I was smoking around her constantly, she just wouldn't end up okay either. But the main reason was literally just because she just didn't like it. So I mean, obviously it sounds like I'm such like a a simp, I guess, which I don't give a fuck. If I am, I am. But yeah, she literally was just like, I would prefer if you didn't. And her saying that, the second she said that, I remember I was mid-hit. And I just took it out of my mouth, blew out like just as quick as I could, and I threw the vape to the side and I said, I'll quit right now. Like, from now onwards, I will not touch a vape, a cigarette, weed, anything ever again. I will just stop right now. And we were both crying. So because again, we were having a very emotional night. But she really appreciated that, and it also made me realise how terrible of an addiction smoking really is. Because obviously it affects you negatively. That's it. It just affects you negatively. So while you think, oh, this is sweet, like, because I still miss the feeling of, you know, getting that hit of a cigarette with my pals around, or, you know, hitting the vape, or the chuff, as the boys would call it, or, you know, when it got to like a Friday and the weekend was here, I was like getting high on Friday, eating because I had the fucking munchies and stuff. I was like, oh, this is sick. But then I sort of realised there's no positive effect to any of this besides in the moment feeling good. And I said, but there's many ways and many things I could do to make me feel good in the moment besides smoking. Like smoking with my friends, for example. I realised that I didn't like it because I was smoking with my friends. I liked it because I was with my friends, and I can be with my friends without smoking. Yeah. At work, me and my mate Gary at work, we would have smoke breaks. Like, I'd come down for a smoke, and he'd have a smoke as well. And we would just chat about anything but work, and that was really nice. And then I sort of just realised I can just walk downstairs quick and have a chat with Gary and not have to smoke. And when it got to a Friday, I didn't know why I was like smoking weed, for example. I had no idea why, besides the fact that like getting high was nice. There was no reason for me to be doing any of it, and it made me realise that I was just being an idiot. Like, that's literally what I thought of. Like, every time like I looked at it, I was just like, what am I doing? You know. And there were even times before she even said to me like, hey, I'd rather if you didn't, where even me and Gary would talk about, we have to quit this. And every time we'd say that, we'd be mid-smoke, and then we'd light another one as well, you know. But we both were aware that it was stupid, and I think I did get to a point where I value her opinion so much. Hearing her say that she'd rather I didn't do this thing has made me, it was like that final push for me to be like, yeah, I'll just stop it. And it's generally never been easier. I've obviously, everyone who stopped smoking after, because I was smoking for like a year or two or something like that, and obviously people that have been smoking for a long period of time find it so hard to quit and end up going back, or, you know, relapsing on it, or within a few days, you know, they're like, oof, I need a smoke. I have not had a single inkling or want to smoke. I've reminisced and being like, oh, like when I get to work and Gary's having a smoke, I obviously sit there and I'm like, oh, I miss having a smoke with you, man.
I do. Yeah. I know the feeling.
But again, the feeling of not smoking, and the feeling of I'm making her proud, and I'm also doing it for myself. You know, like, I'm bettering myself, but I'm also making her happy because I've stopped something that is just bad for me. It was like the key reason I stopped. I knew something was bad for me, so yeah, I'm going to stop, and I did. And I don't know, it's nice to have someone in my life who really does look out for the best of me, but isn't doing it for several negative reasons. Like, I've been cheated on a few times, and they would be using me for just strictly negative things that I didn't realise at the time. And she's the first person that's come along, and, you know, she's meaning things that she says in positive ways, and she is genuinely looking out for me, because, I mean, she'd do it for anyone, but respectfully, I only care that she's doing it for me as well. And she knows that, and she also knows how head over heels I am for her. But yeah, I've genuinely never valued someone's opinion more, because, and I also never thought I'd stop smoking. I thought once I'd done it, I was like, oh, it's just a thing I do. But the fact that she just said no, and I was like, okay. And I just stopped on the second. And then literally that it did take me a while to throw the like the vape away and stuff, but I didn't have the temptation there. It was just more of I kept forgetting to throw it out. But once I did throw it out, I felt good. You know, I felt like, wow, I've done it. You know, like I have just stopped, and I'm happy with that feeling. And yeah, she was happy that I stopped, and it was like a cute little bonding moment. You know, that because I proved to her that I would do anything for her, and yeah, I want to prove her right. You know, that it is worth. Like her opinion is valued with someone, and that is always going to be me. Like, even if she's in the wrong, I'd back her. You know what I'm saying? Like, she could kill someone, and I'd turn around and be like, yeah, she should have done that though.
There was a reason.
Yeah, like she had a valid reason, even if the reason was so stupid. I'd back her. But yeah, and there's a bit of an abundance of a talk there. But love is a very powerful thing, and it's not a bad thing to let it direct you in life, and especially if you do cherish and love that person so much, which I do love her very much and cherish her so very much. I think it's smart to base things around her, and you know, think about this, that, and the other around her, because she's worth it, you know. And as I said to you before we even got here, there's only a small amount of people that really you really feel that deep connection with, and when you have that, you genuinely are idiotic and stupid to not fight to want to keep it. And there have been times where I thought, this is it for us two, like, we just call it quits, and I'll block her and we just both move on. And recently that exact scenario came up, and I was ready to. My brain understood that it's weird, my brain understood it was correct, but my head didn't, if that makes sense. And I just thought in the long run, you know, like, is she genuinely someone who I just want in my life? And she really is, you know, because she has bettered me in many ways, she's helped me in so many more. And like I said, she's worth fighting for. She is one of those very, like, I'm unbelievably lucky to have had someone like her enter my life. And yeah, I'm gonna fight for her 24/7. I'm gonna make her feel like she's worth fighting for, and she's worth being around for, because she is. And you know, I guess I don't really care when people turn around and do say, oh, you're so, like, there for your girlfriend, you know, or like there for that person you love, because we're not together, and I'm not okay with that, but like, I understand it. And yeah, I mean, we both know what we want eventually. We're just trying different paths, and I have confidence in us both that the feelings we have for each other are real, because we both said they're real. And I think I'm in it for the long game. You know, I'll wait for her as long as she needs. It could be years, it could be months, it could be fucking 2 days, you know. But that's the time commitment I'm willing to put into her, because, like I said, she is worth waiting that entire time for. And I've never felt this way for someone else. And it's easy to think positive when I think of her. And I don't know, I always hope that other people in life find that sort of love connection as well, because everyone deserves that. Besides, like, you know, pedophiles and stuff like that, maybe we just kick them to the side.
In some instances, if pedophiles were loved properly, they wouldn't be what they are.
Moving on. You're not wrong. Yeah, you're not wrong.
I'm not sticking up for pedophiles.
No. They are terrible humans, but yeah, it does work. But yeah, I genuinely do hope everyone has that in their life at least once. And isn't scared to take the chance, because I've known her for 6 years, and I've had a crush on her for 6 years. She didn't know that at the start, obviously, because I kept that very to myself. But within the last few months, I just took a chance. I really did. She actually started liking me first, but I turned around and I was just like, I feel the exact same, and I have felt the exact same for a while. And you know, like I said, it may not be the path we're currently on, and it may not be the path I want currently, but it's a path I believe we can get to eventually, and you know, be happy with that choice. And I know she wants it, but like I said, the path that she's currently chosen, which, you know, I just don't want to say. I have been very open with her, and I've said that I don't think that path is going to be the correct one for you. And I said I don't mean to be so negative, because if that path is the one you fully believe is going to work, then please take that. But like, you know, I've reassured her constantly that if it does go wrong, I'm right there. And I feel like a normal human being would have not be doing what I'm doing, and I'm very aware of that. And again, I could just be a huge pussy, you know, and I'm so attached to this woman, and I'm fully understanding that that's how it looks from an outside point of view, but no one else has ever been in my shoes and feels the way I feel about her, and no one understands me and her. Like, I know, although the path she's chosen isn't the one I want, I know that the feelings she has for me are very real, and she does very much so want that. And I'm gonna be there for when we do get that chance, and I'm a firm believer that we will. And I've told her this, and I said respectfully, I just don't think it's gonna work out the way you want it to, or are intending it to. And she has also been very open and said that if this path for her doesn't work out, she knows, like, yeah, me, you know. And it brings me a lot of comfort. And it's not like I'm being strung along or led on or anything like that. It's not that at all. It is as plain and simple as we both just love each other. And I think that's a powerful thing to keep in mind, that, like, it isn't, don't overcomplicate it. You know, she does just love me, and I do just love her. And we have a lot of deep chats recently about clearance for our own minds, and being open and honest with each other. And as much as these conversations are draining, because it's not that they're bad, they are good conversations to have, but you know, like, it always does hurt to hear that I'm not currently the choice she wants. It does hurt a lot, but I'm also fully understanding as of why I'm currently not, but I'm also fully understanding that just because I'm not currently the choice doesn't mean I'm not something she won't want, and she doesn't, because she does. And I believe her. I believe everything she says, because she wouldn't say it otherwise. But yeah, she's worth sticking around for, and I hope to God that other people have that in their life, because it's very important, you know. Like, being financially secure is cool. Like, that's gangster, you know. Earn your bread, make that shit. But if you have no one to celebrate your life with, it's the point in life.
Ollie made a beautiful point of that. He made the point that what is the point in having all of the riches and sitting on the throne if there's no one there? If there's no family, there's no friends, there's nothing there. I think, first of all, I think your fervency and your desire and your passion to fight for what it is that you love is testament to the importance of love. And I think, unfortunately, love is frequently the easiest thing for people to disregard and for people to put to the side as there are other things that are more important, and I need to work on my business and I need to make sure that my house is in order on all of the other fronts. And the easiest thing a lot of the time for us to let fall by the wayside is love.
Yeah.
Relationships, family, friends, whatever form this takes. And I think it's paramount to a happy life that people are aware of the fact that love is the cornerstone of our existence, and you cannot proceed in this life without being aware of the fact that love is something that you should fight for. And I would like to make a point of the fact that I think a lot of people will let love or relationships be cast aside for the sake of something like financial prosperity, and in doing that you are letting go of one of the greatest joys of life.
Yeah, and I fully agree with Ollie as well. Like, don't get me wrong, I do love money because it can get you so far in life. Everyone loves money, you know. Like,
there's a quote I enjoy on money of having money isn't everything, but not having it is.
Yeah, exactly. And while I love money and I love, you know, the opportunities it can bring for me, like it can make me go and see her whenever I want, you know. And that is what I really like. Like recently, I made a very romantic gesture. I said to her that, because it was a very hard bit for us, three of us to be for real, and I said to her, the second you need me, you tell me and I'm on the next flight. And I think in the moment of saying that, it was saying it to be like, look how cute it is that I said this. But I meant it. And it did get to a point, literally like a week later, she literally said, Ethan, I think I need you here. And I was more than happy and willing to throw my job away, to throw my home life away, just to go out there and make sure she's okay. And the day she said that to me, I booked the flight the next day, and I was out to her the day after. And I said to my work, I said, look, if you want to let me go, I get it. Obviously, I'm giving you a day's notice that this is happening, and I don't know how long for. But luckily I still have the job. That's awesome. But I said to them, I was so open and honest with work. I just said to them, I said, look, I found out that I was going to be doing this yesterday. I'm doing this like it or not. I said, if you want to keep me, that'd be fucking awesome. If you don't, it also makes 1000% sense, because you're a business at the end of the day. We worked out with work and everything, which was fine. But I was literally on it was the actual next flight to her. And, you know, it's things like that. Like, some people will view that as the most idiotic thing. Like, you know, I could have lost my job, could have ruined some things at home. But I don't care, because I love this woman. And I made a promise to her. I told her, if you do need me there, I'm on that next flight. And I'm not going to break a promise to her. So that's exactly what I did. And, you know, people have their own opinions on that. That's fine. But it's not their opinion I care about. You know, it's hers and it's mine. And my opinion was that I was okay and comfortable with possibly losing my job and things going wrong at home just because I've made this choice. But it would be okay because she'd be there in the end, you know, and I could be happy with the choice I made, and I was. And we had a tough time out there. It was tough for like the first week and a half. I ended up staying out there for a month. And towards the end, it was one of the strangest but best experiences I've ever so quickly and sporadically just done. And I've told her, and I tell her to this day, even though, again, not currently the path she wants, that I'd do it all over again. And I'd do it again and again and again and again. And every time I tell her that, I tell her, I'm like, it's because I genuinely am in love with you. And I said, people can think otherwise, and I just don't care, because it's not their opinion, and it's not their thing to have an opinion on. I tell her, you know, it's me and you. And, you know, I repeat that a lot to her. One, because she does like hearing it. and two, it was nice to be so confident in myself to be able to make that choice. And yeah, like I said, she's so important to me, and I will always think of her first and then everything else. But that's just because to me she is everything. So my life that I want with her, you know, that's my life I want with her. So, you know, if I have to drop everything here to want that life, I'm okay doing that. And while that makes me sound like a complete twat,
makes you sound in love.
Well, yeah, it does. And I mean no like bad things to like my friends that I'd be leaving behind here and stuff. But one, I could still contact them obviously. But family as well would be hard to keep 100% contact with. But I'm okay with that. Purely because I know that they'd be okay with that, because they know I'm not leaving just to be a dick. Like my mum's always known that I don't want to stay in the UK forever, and that I do want to move. Obviously everyone wants to move out, but I want to move out of the country.
Yeah.
And while she hates that, because I'm her son, she's also so understanding, and she also knows that I have, if you couldn't tell, an obsession with this woman. I haven't made it obvious. So,
no, not at all.
Yeah, if you didn't get the message, it would have made sense. But yeah, like I think it's okay for people to base their life around someone like that, because love is such an important thing. And if you're like 60 years old with no one because of the choices you made, because you thought, oh, I'm going to choose this, like I'm going to choose earning money over, you know, being happy. I mean, sure, it's your own thing. If that's how you're comfortable in life, do it. I just think you're a bit of an idiot. Because again, like Ollie said, you know, what's the point in having all this money and all this greatness in yourself if you can't share it with a family or a woman to go home to, you know? I like spoiling her when I can. And I literally bought her dinner yesterday because I was bored. And she was saying, I don't know what to have for dinner. So she slipped up as well and said, oh, I want this. And I said, okay. And just bought it for her. But, you know, stuff like that. Like, I don't know why people wouldn't want that, because it's such an important thing. And, I mean, when you're a kid, obviously, you see your parents together and happy. Not me towards the end, but we move. But, you know, you do sort of look at your parents are your first basis of what, like, a happy relationship is, I guess. Because you're like, oh, that's mum and dad are together, that's cool. You know, I want something like that when I'm older. And obviously you don't fully understand what that is as a kid, because you're mentally, you're literally 3 years old. Yeah, you're a fucking idiot. Yeah. But, like, I don't know, I feel like love is something you understand more and want more as you grow up.
Yeah.
And I'm understanding that in my life, love is a very big thing, because I feel like I'm set, like I told you earlier. I have a job that pays me more than enough to do what I want. I feel like everything here is good. And I feel like the genuine next step for me is just trying to find a relationship, and I happen to only want that with her. And I mean, I'll wait as long as it takes, and she's comfortable with me waiting as well, because we've been so open and honest together. But yeah, she is just worth stupid decisions and stupid choices.
That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave these threads untied, because I think I've got some personal skin in this game that I think it'd be interesting for you and I to come at this from what is possibly 2 different angles, and to converge on the point when it comes to bringing together those potential differences with some similarities.
Yeah.
But I don't want to do that disservice today. So I'm going to underline that, and I'm going to use this. This is where we'll pick up on next time we come on. We'll get into the point of love in relation to business, in relation to decisions, in relation to how your love for one person might influence your love for your friend groups. We'll make a point of it, and we'll really put some effort into diving into it and really getting under the skin of what is essentially the essence of life.
Yeah.
And I think when something's the essence of life, it should probably be given some good attention.
Yeah,
So,
100%. Yeah.
all right, let's do it then.
Brilliant.
We'll do it that way.
Part 2, baby. Part 2.
Part 2 on the way.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
No, you're more than welcome, mate. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for persevering as well. I appreciate that.
Of course, man.
Because fucking hell, we nearly did another hour.
Yeah.
Wow, that didn't feel that long.
No, they didn't.
What, like 20 minutes?
I could talk about her for